You don't want to see my ugly face on YouTube. Even YouTube doesn't want to see my ugly face on YouTube. Even I don't want to see my ugly face. That's why I avoid mirrors. I'm quite sure that you would rather see the beautiful Wisconsin scenery on a beautiful spring day here in Wisconsin. So let's go for a ride. Shall we? Because I think we have a few things we need to discuss. First of all, it should be obvious that I very seldom format my videos. I freestyle my life on a daily basis, so why wouldn't I do it on YouTube? I guess the first thing I'd like to say is, you know what I see when I go out in the world? I see dead people. People who are so ingrained in the daily trappings of life, so dependent on the system that if the system ever fails, they'd be lucky to last a week. That's a crying shame. And I guess the argument could be made that that's all by design, because you will accept the mark of the beast if you have no other choice, if you have no other skills, if you don't know how to freestyle your life on a daily basis. They got you by the balls. So if the day ever comes that someone says in an official capacity, you have to take this mark or take this chip, or you're not going to be able to live the life that you're used to living, you'll do it. You won't have any other choice. And that's the obvious part, at least wise in my opinion, about where they're trying to take us. Over the years, people have compared us to sheep. It's a pretty good comparison. But the way it is right now, cattle would be more relevant. Because we're being herded right into a slaughterhouse. If you really want to be honest with yourself about it. Let's say, for argument's sake, that you followed what some call the dark path, and you wanted to know where overall your path should lead. Pick up the Bible and read Revelations. It says exactly the conditions that the world will be in upon the return of Jesus Christ. It's not a blueprint of how it should be done, but it sets up the parameters for what should be done. A lot of people have called what's happening prophecy. I've always had kind of an issue with that, because I firmly believe the greatest gift God ever gave humanity is free will. And in my opinion, and the way the story unfolds without actually saying it, should free will ever be conquered on this planet, it's game over. Because if we're not willing to stand up for free will, obviously we're not willing to stand up for ourselves. And if this human experiment is really an experiment, that'll be the end of it. But that's a philosophical issue that could be discussed until we're all blue in the face. What I'd like to cover is what's happening before your very eyes. What do you know about the royal family? Or the House of Windsor? Did you know that the royal family's lineage goes back to Blut the Impaler? And if you don't know who Blut the Impaler is, look him up. He was a peach of a guy. And if you go beyond that, it goes all the way back to the House of Dracula in Transylvania. It's all public information if you're willing to take the time. That's where the trail leads. And if you research the lineage of the rest of the so-called elites of the world, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, for example, the same kind of things develop. It's all royal bloodlines, and atrocities have been committed in their name throughout history, and so forth and so on. And isn't it a funny coincidence that there are 13 families that are involved in that type of thing, or leastwise that are considered the elite of the world? And it was considered standard practice way back when power was transferred from one monarch to another, that you would have to re-swear your allegiance to the new monarch. I find it interesting, if not concerning, that Prince Charles come out the other day and said that after or during his coronation, that all of the people under his rule need to swear allegiance to him. That's not the way his mama did it. But then again, I got a feeling she was cut from a little bit different cloth than the rest of them. She was prim and proper and all about protocols and that kind of thing. But if they go back to their roots and their origins, that's not the biggest priority. Allegiance, loyalty, servitude, that's their priorities. And I have a feeling the world is on the verge of seeing that after Charles' coronation. You might say, well, gee whiz, I live in America, what does that have to do with me? If you're asking yourself that question, obviously you haven't been paying attention. It's not called world government for no reason at all. And in order to steal your freedom, or more accurately, your free will, they have to be able to trick you into giving it up. We're going to try this, or we're going to try that, or we're going to enact this, and we're going to pass this law, or so forth and so on. And if the people submit to it, that's basically to them saying it's okay. Even if it's immoral. Or goes against God. The overall goal here is the same goal that evil always has. Commit the oldest sins in the newest ways. And the highest prize that you can gain for the master is a child. Because there's no greater prize to the Dark Lord than the destruction of innocence. And that's part of the ammunition that has been thrown in our faces for quite some time, and more prevalently in the times we're living in today. They're not going after children's development to help them. Quite the contrary. When these people show up on the scene and say they're there to help, you better run the other freaking way, because help is the last thing on their minds. The ultimate goal is to conquer you, to make you dependent on them for your daily whatever, so they can maintain their relevance and power. Does any of this sound familiar? Any of you history buffs out there? Does that not sound like a dictatorial monarchy? When people think of kings, they think of King Arthur. And unfortunately, when people think of presidents, the same thought process is kind of used. When the reality of it is, guys like King Arthur, if you know anything about history, are pretty freaking rare. And then again, guys like Blut the Impaler are pretty common throughout history. But in the end, it's all about choices. You're an American citizen, you have the right to participate or not. You have the right to be informed or not. But in my estimation, our freedom and free will is like an engine. And an engine runs on oil. And you have to be actively participating in the process to make sure there's plenty of oil in your engine. To make sure that it isn't in there too long and goes bad and makes your engine fail. I can't argue against the point that up until recently, voting for a president is the choice of the lesser of two evils. But in my opinion, that changed in 2016. When before he was even elected, Barack Obama himself was on TV saying, "Don't worry about Mr. Trump, we got our eyes on him." Well, why would they be doing that? Unless they had something to protect, unless they were doing something they weren't supposed to be doing. Why would you accuse somebody of all of the things that it's been proven that he hasn't done? You wouldn't, unless you were looking to protect yourself and your interests. And the interests of this little cabal are evil. That's the club that George Carlin talked about, that none of us are members of. So I guess my overall point here is what side of history you want to be on. What's good for your soul? Do you want to stand up for what you think is right? What's moral, what's fair? Or you just want to stand aside and let it all happen? Because, like I said before, participation and information is the oil that makes this engine run. And even if you're not willing to participate in the process of voting, at the very least you can be informed and tell people what you know for when they participate in the process, and at the very least have the correct information instead of a bunch of made up bullshit which amounts to ammunition to take us to somewhere we don't want to go. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. And now a word for the YouTube censors and those that believe in censorship in general. What in the hell is wrong with you people? Do you realize what you're doing to yourself and your futures? To your own families? The only way is the way the founding fathers did it. And I don't know if they had a crystal ball or not, but it's almost like they could see the future and see you people coming. You're volunteering yourself and your own people to be put in chains. And I don't know if y'all know this or not, but the first thing that usually happens when a dictator moves in is they get rid of what's called the useful idiots who help them gain power. And the reason they get rid of them is because they already proven that they don't have any loyalty because they've betrayed their own people and their country. So it'd be in your best interest to back the hell away, because this isn't going to end well for anyone, especially you. All I can do is say how I would handle it. I wouldn't keep that job or continue doing something like that for a paycheck. That ain't happening. I'm not going to volunteer or prostitute myself because I don't have another way to put money in my pocket and food in my mouth. If I had that job, I wouldn't quit. I'd blow the whistle on it, because the more people that can become aware to what's going on behind the scenes and how they're really not the people they say, and most of y'all know that. You know it just as sure as I'm sitting here. That ain't the way. You're promoting chaos, you're promoting dishonor, and you're promoting enslaving yourself and your own damn people. So that comes back to, what in the hell is wrong with you? And if you were smart, you college-educated idiots, you would troll me on this platform to try to make your point and make this uneducated, dumbass white boy look like a fool. Because if it ever goes hot and you have to come out here and deal with me, I guarantee you, you will lose. Because the bare bones reality is, I don't give a shit. I've been here for a while. I've seen enough of this world, and I don't mind leaving it, fighting for what I think is right. Y'all a little bit younger, you might actually have something to live for. Well, hope you enjoyed the ride. I don't mind saying it because it's absolutely true. I'm not nearly as worried about the future as most of you should be.